Well, good evening, everybody. I really missed y'all. I've been a very busy boy and I've been a little lazy, but welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance. So, Trump has officially announced some of the proposals that he wants to make to cut taxes in the United States. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but if you cut taxes, but you don't raise revenue some other way, that's going to increase the federal budget deficit. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but the United States government is $36 trillion in debt, and we're running $2 trillion deficits every single year. And we have a booming economy. And apparently, when times are good, you're supposed to run massive deficits. And then when times are bad, you're supposed to run even bigger deficits. So you just keep racking up the debt because it doesn't matter, bro. So we're going to go look at the astronomical cost that Trump's tax cuts are going to inflict on the nation. Now, the tax cuts will benefit the private sector. Oh, it'll benefit the private sector, but it'll place a bunch of debt on the federal government's balance sheet. That can potentially be a problem in the future. Or maybe not, because U.S. debt, bro. So let's go check out some of his proposals. I'm going to give you my opinion, and we're going to see how much it's going to cost. So I read this little article here, Committee for the Responsible Federal Budget, which this committee should be fired because they've had zero effect, and our budget deficits are insane, even as a percentage of GDP. In a closed-door meeting with House leadership today, Trump reportedly outlined his tax priorities. According to press reports, they included extending the expiring pieces of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. That piece of legislation massively cut taxes, but it also kind of screwed over blue staters because it capped the SALT tax, the state and local deduction. Go look in your Schedule A. The max you can deduct is $10,000. Expanding the SALT deduction. Oh, we're going to let liberal douchebags write off more taxes now. Enacting tax breaks for goods made in America, cutting taxes on income from tips, okay, throwing a bone to the brokies, overtime pay, and Social Security benefits. And eliminating tax breaks for carried interest and stadium owners. I guarantee you tax breaks for carried interest and stadium owners aren't going to save that much, okay? So what is this tax package going to potentially do? Well, like I said, if you cut taxes, the federal government collects less taxes. The spending, you think the Doge thing is really going to make a difference? It'll make some difference. It ain't going to make that much of a difference. And there's going to be a big fight between all the rats and bureaucrats in the government trying to keep their jobs and their grift and graft and people trying to cut the budget. So we'll see how well Doge does, but I think there's going to be a big struggle, and we're not going to be able to cut as much as we would like, but we'll see. So this tax plan is going to reduce revenue by $5 trillion to $11 trillion over 10 years. So so we're already running $2 trillion deficits, okay? We collect $2 trillion less in taxes than we spend. Instead of trying to address that, well, let's just cut taxes more. $5 to $11 trillion. So we could be running $2.5 trillion deficits, $3 trillion deficits, and that'll go up with inflation. Great idea. U.S. debt, bro. Nothing matters, bro. Lower revenue by 1 to 3% of GDP. So that means instead of us running deficits as like 6% of GDP, it's going to be 7 to 9% of GDP. Why isn't the economy good? I don't understand why we have to cut taxes when the economy's good. Why are we increasing the deficit when the economy's good? Boost debt to between 132 to 149% of GDP by 2035. But Japan's got debt, bro. Yeah, their freaking interest rates are like, what, 1% less? We have freaking 100% of GDP or something like that. And we have much higher interest rates. And we'll see what happens with inflation. Compared to nearly 100% today. Outrageous. So let's see the fiscal impact by category. Extending the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So the big thing with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, it was a couple things. So they cut corporate taxes, like for C corporations, like large publicly traded corporations, basically. Their taxes were cut to 21%. It's basically a flat 21%. So it's a subsidy to corporations who are already running massive profits and have benefited the most over the last 15 years. Oh, let's just keep their tax rate lower. Let's cut it even more. Let's cut it to 15%, bro. It also did some tax cuts for pass-through entities. So if you run a business, even my business, I'm a single member LLC, I get what's called the qualified business income deduction, which is an additional 20% deduction on your business profit. There's some adjustments to it, but basically it's roughly 20% additional deduction on your business profits. It's very valuable. It benefits me. I mean, I get to deduct a couple grand a year. It's pretty freaking good. But the cost of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is astronomical. So just by extending that alone, mind you, during a good economy, it's going to cost between basically $4 to $5 trillion over the next 10 years. So that's going to add 400 to 500 billion on the deficit every year. Providing SALT relief is going to cost 200 billion, between 200 billion and 1.2 trillion. I don't know why they're messing with the SALT cap. So, like I said, the SALT cap limits your deduction on your Schedule A for taxes paid, state and local taxes, to $10,000. So if you're rich in California and you pay $50,000 of California income tax, you could still only deduct 10 grand on your Schedule A. So it actually hurts like high tax states, richies living in high tax states. So apparently we're going to throw a bone to rich liberal douchebags, and it's only going to cost between 200 billion to 1.2 trillion in 10 years. Cut taxes on tips. What's so special about tips? Oh, you got a tip, so no tax. Why? Why are we cutting tax? Well, of all things, tips. There's going to be so much grift and fraud with that. Everything's going to be a tip now. So they're projecting it's going to cost between 100 billion to 550 billion. Oh, by the way, make sure you tip me with super chats, bro. It's a tip. So it's going to cost between 100 billion to 550 billion. Cut taxes on overtime pay between 250 billion to $3 trillion over 10 years. Why are we cutting taxes on overtime? You're getting time and a half or double pay. Okay, you got to pay a little bit more tax like everybody else. You know, a lot of employees don't get overtime. I don't get overtime. I'm a salaried employee. When I worked for a tax firm, I didn't get overtime. I was a salaried employee, and I worked long hours. So basically, this is just throwing a bone to very specific jobs that have overtime. But I know if it benefits you, whatever. And the dumbest thing of all, cut taxes on Social Security. So think about the boomers here. The boomers had the greatest bull market we've ever lived through. They had the greatest economy over their lifetimes that we've ever lived through. If you're a boomer, you have no excuse not to be a multimillionaire from investing. I mean, we had an insane amount of prosperity and economic growth under the boomers. They had it much better than a lot of people have it now. And we're going to give them an additional subsidy after they've worked their whole lives and they have the most assets and the most wealth. And we're going to cut federal taxes on Social Security. So right now, up to 85% of Social Security benefits are taxable federally. It depends on your income. There's like a formula they use. But basically, if you make up to a certain amount, up to 85% of what you receive is taxable. That's a lot of money for the federal government. Now think about it. These boomers are retired. They got their pensions, 401ks, paid off houses. And then we got to cut the taxes on their Social Security, a program which is going to be unable to pay its max benefits in like 10 years. Why are we giving the old people a subsidy? Why don't we put that to like, I don't know, child tax credits? Don't we have like a birth crisis? But no, we got to give it to old geezers who should already have enough money. That's going to cost between 550 billion to 1.5 trillion. The dumbest proposal out of this whole thing. It should be taxable, especially if you make a lot of money. If you have a 100K in retirement income, why would you pay no tax on Social Security? It's so stupid. Well, we got to get the old vote, bro. Cut taxes for domestic production. Okay, I'm not necessarily against that. And then, of course, here's the massive savings, bro. Cut the carried interest loophole and reduce tax benefits for stadium owners. Now, my understanding of carried interest is, I mean, I could be speaking out of my butt here, but my understanding of carried interest is that if you're like a hedge fund manager and you charge the 2% fee and then 20% of profits, what the carried interest loophole allows you to do is to claim that 20% of profit that you take from the top from your clients as it's taxed as capital gains, which are lower rates. So basically, you're a rich hedge fund manager, making all this money underperforming the market like a loser because you couldn't do well in accounting. Accounting was hard. So you chose finance. You became a hedge fund manager. And you're making all this money charging astronomical clown fees. And then you get this carried interest loophole where you get to report part of your income, the fees that you charge, as capital gains when it's clearly earned income. So I'm totally for that. Oh, but if we raise taxes, they're not going to be hedge funds anymore. Capitalism will collapse. Yeah, okay. I'm sure all these freaking hedge fund clowns are going to stop being hedge funds because they have to pay a little bit more tax. Freaking joke. Rent seekers. So I'm fine with that. And then reduce tax benefits for stadium. Sports ball! Sports ball! Oh, freaking stupid. Okay. So all that is supposedly going to save $100 billion. So it's still going to cost between $5 trillion to $11 trillion. So let me reiterate. This is a federal surplus or deficit as a percentage of gross domestic product. This is the national income. This goes all the way back to 1930. So the lower it goes, the bigger the deficit as a percentage of GDP. So you see in the 1940s, when we were fighting the Deutsch and the Japanese, we had huge budget deficits because we had to spend a bunch of money on war, right? And then, the budget deficit kind of went down. We had a pretty, kind of a bad deficit in 1983. Then we had the Clinton administration, and we actually had a surplus. And then ever since 2000, we've been running huge deficits. And you can actually see it's trending down. We had the great financial crisis, the Great Recession. We ran huge deficits. That makes sense to me. Okay. And then we had a huge deficit in 2020 because guess why? The flu. And now that we're not in a recession, we don't have a crisis, we're still running massive budget deficits. You notice when you see the gray here, these are I guess these are recessions. When you see gray, you can see that there's a deficit. Okay, we run deficits because when there's a recession, we're probably collecting less tax revenue and the government is kind of spending to offset, issues in the economy. Now we're not in a recession and we're still running a 6% deficit as a percentage of GDP as of 2023. And our brilliant idea is to cut taxes even more. It's so stupid. And going back to the Social Security thing, I just want to reiterate this. So this is the spending, U.S. government spending for fiscal year 2025. So the government's fiscal year starts October 1st, 2024. So in the span of October, 4.5 months, we've already spent $374 billion on Social Security. But the government gets to get some of that back by taxing it. But now we're not going to assess federal tax on our largest budget item. Why? So old people can have a little bit more money and not spend it? What are they going to do with it? The most fortunate generation, we're going to subsidize them. This is so stupid. Oh, man. Don't you love politics? Such a freaking grift. How much did we spend? Okay, so we spent 6.75 trillion in 2024. I wonder what percentage of that was Social Security. I think it's like 1.5 trillion or something. It's just this is so stupid. This whole thing is so freaking stupid. So, what do you guys think? Would you guys like any of these tax proposals? The only one I'm really for, cutting taxes for domestic production. I'm fine with that. And we can offset that by closing the carried interest loophole. Everything else is stupid. We should probably let the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expire. We have a booming economy. The SALT relief, yeah, let's subsidize, liberal douchebags in high tax states. Why are we cutting taxes on tips? Everything's a tip now. I'll show you a tip. Overtime, yeah, you're making time and a half. Oh, you can't pay taxes on that. Social Security, the freaking worst. Okay? Very stupid budget proposals all around. Let me know your thoughts. Are you mad? Am I not a patriot? Book a free 30-minute tax consultation with me. I am a certified public accountant. I will do your 2024 business or personal taxes. You can talk to me for free. I'll give you an upfront quote. You send me your tax forms. I prepare your taxes, and you go about your happy day. Or you can use H&R Block, who are a bunch of clueless clowns. You decide. Book a free tax consultation. Pin comment. It's totally free. But then once I do your, I will charge you, of course. What? You're charging for taxes? What? Grift. Greetings and salutations. Trump's a con man. He's just trying to cut taxes for his rich oligarchs. Well, no. Some of the biggest proposals there are he's trying to throw a bone to freaking old people. It's so ridiculous. Oh, we have a birth rate crisis. Let's subsidize old people and run up the deficit even more during good times. He doesn't give a crap. No. The whole U.S. economy, it's a joke. Everybody thinks we're this magic, amazing economy. We're not. We're running huge deficits. We're subsidizing the private sector by not taxing them enough. Magic soil, bro. I voted for the boss. Cut taxes and increase deficit spending. Peak. I remember back in the day, like maybe a decade ago, the budget deficit was a huge deal. Like, oh, the Democrats want to run up the deficit. And now nobody cares anymore. We just run deficits, and when times are good, we run deficits. And when times are bad, we run even bigger deficits. If we have another like really bad recession, the federal debt is going to explode. If we have some kind of crisis, the federal debt is going to vertical line. And then once that's done, let's cut taxes more. Shut up, weak man. The best economy in the world needs printer to go burr to stay alive. Yeah. Magic soil, bro. That I don't agree with that. I mean, you're getting double pay or 1.5 or whatever. Strong man vote. No, I voted for Trump. See, even if the nation collapses under a mountain of debt, at least I got to see federal employees crapping their pants. I am loving every minute of this Doge thing. It is beautiful. How come you're so confident on Trump, but every time you speak about him, you're upset? Because I hate the federal government, and I'm really enjoying what he's doing. And all his executive orders. I'm going all in on tips, treasury, and inflation. You get like kind of inflation protection with short-term bonds, right? Because if there's inflation, then short-term rates go up. So if you're like in a really short duration ETF like SGov, the rates will probably go up with inflation. If the big risk with inflation is like if you buy long-term treasuries or bonds or whatever. Exactly. You must be one sad guy to be underperforming for that long. Yeah. Pick your random stock. Oh, see, the index underperformed a stock. See? So indexing is bad. Woo, bacon memes. Strongman is just, how will I lose my job? I work in the private sector. Oh, what is wrong with this? Come on. Subsidizing childbirth for strongman, even the Romans. I mean, even if it doesn't help the birth rate, why are we rewarding old people who have had their whole lives to accumulate wealth instead of young people with children? You know, the hardest thing financially is to support children. That's expensive, okay? And the children are the future of the country, not some old fart sitting in their house. Where's my check? Why am I paying taxes on my Social Security? Let's see. Salt isn't a Richie tax. Lots of middle-class homeowners got hurt when they capped it at. Yeah, but it disproportionately helps the rich. Of course it does. Let's see. Lazy investors and stupid ETFs like VT will get their butts destroyed with, oh yeah, I'm sure you're going to be fine with your, let me guess, chip stocks and large cap tech. Damn, you're a genius. Let's see. When are you having a meet and greet? My channel's not big enough for that. Boomers paid for Social Security for a generation. Well, it's all a Ponzi scheme. It is a Ponzi scheme. The young workers pay the current benefits. Any excess gets invested in treasuries. So the government can just borrow from our freaking excess Social Security taxes that we paid. But it's just young people work. Social Security comes out of their paychecks and it gets sent to grandma. And if you don't have a lot of kids and you have a huge older population, that's a problem. The old people should have enough. Their houses are paid off. They have pensions. A lot of them have pensions. They still get Social Security, and they had their whole lives to save. And we got to subsidize them more. Like, it's just stupid. I'm going to book all your tax. Pfft. Yeah. I actually have a meeting at 7. Are we actually not in a recession? All I hear is people complaining about money and stuff being, well, if you trust the numbers, we're not in a recession. Strongman survives on doing federal employee tax returns. I actually don't think I have many clients that are federal employees. No, I don't. I mean, no, it's mostly like smaller businesses, a couple corporations, a couple partnerships, but not many federal employees. And, you know, if somebody from NASA wants me to do their taxes, I'm adding 10% to your fees. If you're military, you get a 10% discount. If you work at NASA, you pay 10% more. Loser. Let's see. Work harder, children. I can't see my cataract's up. Yeah, exactly. All my income is it's all tips, bro. I'm gonna have like a PayPal donations. Tip me, bro. Don't give me super. Just tip me, bro. No tax, bro. Anyway, that whole plan is freaking stupid. Okay, so once again, book a free tax consultation. You get to talk to me for free. I'll quote you up front. I will do your taxes. Let a CPA with many years of experience prepare your taxes, because I guarantee you're freaking missing something. Okay? Even something as simple as, you know, income from treasuries not being taxable to your state. There's always something people freaking miss. Okay? So book a free tax consultation. You're going to have to pay me, but you might actually save more on your taxes. And you have a professional doing it, not some freaking bozo at Jackson Hewitt. Jackson Hewitt, I got an associate's in accounting. I'm smart. All right, have a wonderful night. Cheers.